humanity, we continue with this noble call for the United Nations financial independence for the sake of humanity and the nations of the world. Just like the United Nations operates its own postage stamps and airlines, it should be possible for the United Nations to operate its own monetary system. And there should be no big deal about the United Nations operating its own monetary system, since every nation of the world operates its own currency. Likewise, many organizations of nations, like the European Union, has the euro, the BRICS nations have the BRICS currency. And as already known to humanity, the world is fast embracing the evolution of the Bitcoin, with the origin being the crash of the US financial system, which affected all nations. As there naturally is equal and opposite reaction to every action, to ensure an equilibrium in the world and the universe, so is water finding its own level for the betterment of the world and the good of humanity. It is the wise who foresees evil and hides himself from any possible danger. The troubling effect of the financial and economic crunch of the United States laid bare before all nations and affected every single nation on earth, and the untold hardship it brought on humanity endures till this very day. The world knows it will be catastrophic for the United States to default on its international debt, since the US dollar is the global reserve currency. However, the recent imminent threat posed by the high possibility of the United States defaulting on its international debt, which threat has already resulted in the United States government shutdown in October 2013, is becoming an existential global threat due to the continuous hint issued by no other than the US government of a possible debt default on America's international debt. Thus, therefore, calls for global prudent measures to be taken to avoid the worst form of the 2007-2008 global financial crisis from troubling the nations of the world and humanity. It has become more than necessary for there to be at least an alternative reliable global reserve currency. I say it again. It has become more than necessary for there to be at least an alternative reliable global reserve currency. In view of this, it should therefore not be considered a big thing for the United Nations to operate the UN powers currency, but should rather be possible for the idea to be considered by all nations a wise one, and should be welcomed by all nations for the sake of humanity and the nations of the world. The rise and success of the euro, BRICS currency, Bitcoin, the UN powers, the ECOWAS currency, or any nation's currency should not be perceived as a threat to any nation's currency, but strength to the global financial system, and rather a source to strengthening global security and stability, since they may ensure the necessary checks and balances to the possible threats posed by any one global reserve currency. The United Nations and all nations, for the sake of humanity and the nations of the world, should be able to say to the UN powers, Akwaba, Swagatam, Kush Amadid, Bienvenue, Dubro Pezalovat, Bienvenido, Namaste, Wang Jingwanlin, Wezolo, Mkwan Dehena Matakawi, Barack Haba, welcome Akwaba, humanity and the nations of the world. May we forgive the air in my multilingual skill. All we need to remember for now is we are all involved in empowering the United Nations to achieve its financial independence. Humanity, one more time, I say we must remember though I limp on like Jacob in pain, however, this one thing we know, that the rod of Moses became the rod of God. That freedom be born in the human world. Humanity and the nations of the world I conclude by saying, in my weakness is a strength made perfect. Je ne vais donc pas mourir, mais je vivrai pour raconter ce que le Seigneur a fait. To you all I say, we shall not die, but live and declare the works of the Lord. Amen. Precious ones, hasta luego. We shall meet again. This is Brother Dan Osei Yaw Sarkodie of TRC Ghana, reporting for the sake of humanity in America. God bless you to occupy for the sake of your nation and the nations of the world, as humanity is called upon to. Bye bye.